students, I Dr. Priya Parihar welcome you to Jaipur National University. I am teaching you Managerial Economics. In last class, I discussed about the Managerial Economics concept, scope, importance and the role of Managerial Economist. Today's topic is Law of Demand. Okay, so in this image, what we have seen? We have seen when the price is $3, that time the demand of the fruits is more in comparison to when the price is $5, that time the demand of the fruits is decreased. So this is the demand of commodity. Before starting, what is the demand? First of all, what is the goods? We are talking about the demand. It means the quantity demanded in a particular time for the goods and services. So different types of goods that we need to study first. After that we will discuss the law of demand. First of all, normal goods. These are the normal goods. The nature of these kinds of goods is increase the income leads to higher demand. If the consumer's income will increase, at that time the demand of such kind of commodities will be increased. And the second is luxury goods. Luxury goods, if the income of the consumer increased, that time demand of such kind of commodity increased with the higher rate. So this is called the luxury goods. Next one is inferior goods. Inferior goods, if the income increased, then this kinds of commodities, demand of this kinds of commodities will be decreased. This is the nature of inferior goods. In these types of goods, generally we observe that if the income level of a consumer is increased, at that times the demand of the inferior goods will be decreases. Okay, so next, apart from these three types of goods, there are different types of goods like necessity goods. Necessity goods means we can't go without these kinds of goods, like wheat flour. If I am talking about the North Indian, then wheat flour, rice. So these are the necessity goods. We can't go without these. Food, shelter and clothes, these are necessities, basic priorities. So these are the necessities. It don't has too much effects of the level of income increased or decreased. We have to spend our money on these kinds of goods. Next one is complementary goods. Complementary goods, when we consume two goods together, that is called complementary goods. And second one is substitute goods, when we consume one goods in place of another. This is called, we can say this is a alternative goods also. Okay, that is called the substitute goods. We can use one in place of another, that is called a substitute goods, like tea and coffee. Giffen goods, these are another category of inferior goods. All Giffen goods are inferior goods, but all inferior goods are not Giffen goods. Okay, so these are the different types of goods. Next one is demand. What is demand? Demand is the quantity of goods and services that consumers are willing and able to purchase at a various prices during a given period of time. This given period of time, in a particular period, if I am talking about a 1 year, in 1 year there are so many times prices, sometimes it rises or sometimes it falls. So we can observe a fluctuation in the price of a particular commodity in a 1 year. So in a 1 year, at a different price level, what is the quantity demanded? That is called demand of particular goods or services in a period of time. The period of time is 1 year. So this is demand. Factors affecting demand. First of all, price of the product. price of that particular products. What is the price? If the price is increased, that time the demand of that particular commodity will be decreases, and if the price of that commodity is decreases, the price of that quantity of that commodity will be increases. So there is a, if the price increase, the quantity demanded will be decrease, and if the price decrease, the quantity demanded will be increase. This is the effect of price of a product. Second one is price of substitute products. Substitute products means we can use one product in place of another. As you can see in this image, we can use green apple in place of red apple. If the price of green apple is decreases, the demand of red apple will be decreases. So this is the effect of substitute, price of substitute products. Okay. Next one is price of complementary products. Price of complementary products, as you can see in this image, red apples and the pears we can consume together. That is a complementary goods. So if the price of pears is increased and the demand of apples will be decreases, so it have a inverse relations with the complementary goods. Okay, for examples, we can take an example of ink and the pen, or whiteboard and the marker. So these are the complementary products. Okay, next one is advertising. If a company spend more money on the advertisement, that times the demand of the commodity will be increased, because if you are doing any sales promotion activities, it also affects on the consumers' minds. So this is a factors affecting the demands, and the another factors is taste and the fashion. If the taste of the consumer is changed, in that situations the demand of the commodities will be changed. Okay, and the fashions, if the product is out of fashions or it's not in the fashion, that time customers never want to purchase that kind of commodities. So even then, if you are following the price of that commodities but they are not in the fashion, that time consumer never want to purchase such kind of goods and services. Next one is consumers' income. It's also affect the demand. How can the income affect the demand? If the income increase, at that time the demand of the commodities will be increased. If you have more money, if you have more purchasing power, that times you can purchase more goods and commodities. So that times the demand will be increased. These are the factors that affecting the demand. Types of demand. There are three types of demand. First one is price demand. Price demand means there is change only in the price, and we are just observing the effect of change in price and the quantity demanded. So this is called the price demand. Second is income demand. Income demand, if the consumers or the individual's income change, that time the demand of the commodity is also changed. So what is the relation between the income and the demand of a commodities? This is called the income demand. Next one is cross demand. In cross demand, there are two types of demand: substitute goods and complementary goods. So in cross demand, we are just observing what is the effect of price of other commodities on the one commodity. So we are just observing the effect of change in the price of other commodities on the one commodities. If suppose price of petrol is rises, what is the effect on the bike sale? This is the complementary goods, bike and petrol. We are always using both the products together. So this is the complementary goods. So if the price of petrol rises, what is the impact on the sales of bike? Second one is substitute goods. If the price of coffee increases, what is the effect on the sales of tea? How much quantity demanded of tea in the market? So this is a example of substitute goods. Okay, so these are the three types of demand. Cross demand, as I am you can see in this image, there are two types of goods. First one is substitute goods and the complementary goods. You can see the examples. Here are the few examples of complementary goods and the substitute goods. First one is car and cycle. Both are using for cover a distance. And Pepsi and Coca-Cola. These are the two substitute soft drinks. I'm talking about the complementary goods. If in that situations we have snacks and soft drinks, so generally we prefer to consume it together. So these are the complementary goods. Law of demand. What is law of demand depicts? Law of demand depicts if the price of a commodity increases, the demand of that commodity will be decreases, and if the price of commodity decreases, the demand of that commodities will be increases. So this is the relationship, price and demand. Generally it has an inverse relationship. If the price increase, the demand decrease. If the price decrease, demand increase. So generally it has an inverse relationship. But when the law of demand it work when all other factors remain constant. It works only when the other factors remain constant. What are the other factors? Other factors that affects the demand that I have discussed in above slides. So these are the factors that affects the demand. So except the price, other factors like consumers' income, substitute effects, complementary effects, taste and preferences, these all should be unchanged. It should not be changed. That time the law of demand will be worked. Okay? Generally it works with the normal goods. This is you can see in the law of demand image. You can see in this graph, like here is the price, here is the quantity. Quantity on a x-axis and price on the y-axis. There are the different quantities 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 8, and these are the different price 8, 9, 10 up to 15. So if the price of the wheat is 15 rupees per kg, that time the demand of the wheat is 2 kg only in the market. It's just an imaginary example. And if the price of the wheat is 9 rupees per kg, that time the demand of the wheat is 8 kg in the markets. Okay, so these are the variations. If the price rise, the demand of the wheat is decreases. If the price decreases, the demand of the rice will be increases. Basic assumptions of the law of demand that I'm telling you before, that there must be no change in the income, no change in the size and the compositions of the population, no change in the price of related good. Related good means substitute goods and complementary goods. There is no change in the consumer's taste and preferences. No expectations of the price change in future. There should not be any expectations that in near future there is any chance of the changes in price of a particular commodity. Suppose if I am talking about the gold, if the consumer think that the price of the gold will be high in the near future, so that time what he will do? He will purchase the gold at a higher price, because he is just thinking that the price will be increases. So this concept in his mind, and with this concept he is just increasing the demand of the gold at the higher price. If the gold price is higher continuously, but in near future it will be higher, so it will be continuously raised. At that time consumer demand more golds in the markets and he start purchasing more gold in the market. So that time prices will be higher, but even then the demand of the commodity will also be higher. That time the law of demand will not work. So the expectation should be that there is no change in the price. Next one is no change in the climatic conditions. So whatever is the climatic conditions, it must be remain same. Exceptions of the law of demand. First one is gifting goods. These are the kinds of inferior goods. If the income of the consumer is increased, at that time the demand of such commodity will be decreased. Generally, what happens, if the income of a consumer is increased, the demand of the commodity will also increase. But in case of gifting goods, the demand of the commodity will decrease if the income of a consumer will increase. So it have a inverse relations with the income and demand. Next one is Babylon goods. These are the different categories of luxurious goods. If the income of a consumer increase, the demand of Babylon goods is also increased. Generally, what happen? If the price of the Babylon goods increased, that time the demand of the Babylon goods is also increased. So it also has a positive relations with the price and the demand. Generally, in law of demand, there is an inverse relation between the price and demand of the commodity. Future price change, if the, as I have given you the examples of gold, that if we know that in near future the prices of gold will be increased, at that times we are starting purchasing more gold. Even then the price of the gold is continuously raised. So this is due to this future price change. Ignorance. If the consumer have the perception that if the some commodity has a lower price, at that time the quality of that product is not good. If the consumer think that the price of a commodity increase, it means the quality of that product is good. So if the consumer has such kind of perception in his mind, that times law of demand will not work. Okay, it is the exceptional situation where the law of demand will not work. In case of emergency, if there is any emergency like a war, any natural calamity, at that time the demand of a commodity sometimes increased, especially in case of necessity goods. So at that time law of demand will not work. Change in the fashion and taste or preferences. If the customer's taste and preferences has been changed, that time the law of demand will not work. That time if you are falling the price, if you are decreasing the price of your commodity, of your product or commodity, even then consumer will not purchasing more quantity in the markets. Okay. Next one is conspicuous necessity. If there is a most urgency of the commodity, suppose like a medicine, so in that situation law of demand will not work. Okay, like a medicine, if you are required, if you have any emergency, so at that times you have to purchase. That times money is not matter. So the conspicuous necessity, in case of conspicuous necessity, law of demand will not work. Bandwagon effects. If there is any changes, or in case of bandwagon effects, it is also an exception of law of demand. Curves in a different situations. Different situations means with the, in a case of different goods, like in normal goods, luxury goods and inferior goods, what is the demand curve in different situations? So on a x-axis the quantity demanded, and on the y-axis income. Okay, so these are the two variables, quantity demanded and income. On a x-axis it's display the quantity demanded, and on a y-axis income. So these are the three goods. You can see with this purple line, it depicts the relationship between the income and the quantity demanded in case of inferior goods. In case of inferior goods, if the income of a consumer increased, in that situation, the demand of the commodity will be decreased. As I have told you before, that if the income of a consumer increase, the demand of the commodity will be decreased. This is the inferior goods. In case of normal goods, as you can show with this pink line, normal goods, if the income increase, in this situation, the demand of the commodity will also increase. So this has a positive relations with the income and demand. And in case of luxury goods, if the income increase, the demand of the commodity increased with the higher rate. Okay, as you can see in this graph, in luxury goods, if I am talking about the luxury goods, the income increase of an individual, at that time the demand of the luxury goods will also increase with the higher rate. Okay, so there are the three types of goods. That's why law of demand work only with the normal goods. It's not work with the inferior goods and the luxury goods. Inferior goods and the luxury goods are the exceptions of the law of demand. Okay, so